Get the little show about big things. How we doing today, folks? It is a beautiful day out here in the Chicagoland suburbs of Elk Grove Village, and we are here in the studio of Ocean's Pit. A little show about big things. Show runs Monday through Friday, 12 o'clock noon, a little lunchtime fun, and we have a lot of things to talk about today, folks. First of all, check the website, TonyOceanMusic.com, and give us a call at 847-769-8609. Happy Friday the 13th. It's Friday the 13th, May 13th. And a lot of people say Friday the 13th is bad, but in Italian, the number 13 is good luck. So we're like this. Anyway, we got a great show planned for you guys today. We got my good buddy Chris Minardi, great Chicagoland entertainer, guitar player, plays with so many different groups. Also, he's with Nick Hodges and the Piano Man Band, part of the St. Jude's celebration that we did a couple weeks ago. Also, going to be my guitar player in for my 30th anniversary show. We're going to talk Beach Boys today, 60-year anniversary to one of the greatest pop bands, the Beach Boys. We're going to talk Stones. We're going to talk Keith. We're going to talk a lot of good stuff about music and stuff. So let's get to business, everybody, first. When we talk about business, we talk about sponsors. That's who pays the bills. Let's talk about McCampbell Law Group. Roy McCampbell, attorney at law, statewide law practice that is client-focused and results-driven. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking for an honest lawyer, a good guy, I've used him many times, give Roy a call at 708-275-4264. Then, for all you guys in construction and diesel industry, my good buddy Sal from Deutsch Power Center, they're out of Elgin, Illinois, servicing the construction and diesel industry for the last 100 years. Give Sal a call at 224-276-6550. That's Deutsch Power Center. And let's not forget our good buddy Lou from Airtight Windows and Siding Specialist, family owned for 30 years. For honesty and quality, do it right with Airtight. Give my buddy Lou a call at 708-788-5000 and give you that free estimate. That's Airtight Windows. Don Esteban Cigars out of Tarpon Springs, Florida, folks. The weather is warmer. People are out there getting out in their backyard, in their pool, getting ready now, folks, out at the golf course, out whatever you're doing, time to smoke cigars again. These are hand-rolled. Now, you can ask for the Tony Ocean kind, or you can ask for the kinds that you like. They will tell you what they have. They'll hand-roll them and deliver them right to your house. Javier, 727-366-7536, Don Esteban Cigars. You can watch Ocean's Pit live on Twitter. You can also follow us on YouTube and subscribe to Ocean's Pit or the Tony Ocean Show, folks. Push that little bell and subscribe. So 4 ways of watching the show. After the show is done here on the Tony Ocean Show Facebook page, I share it on my personal page, Mo Carrara, so you can also see it on that. So a bunch of ways to enjoy a little fun and a little show, which is good. I want to thank everybody that showed up last night. Wow. Positano's in Oak Brook is probably one of the finest Italian restaurants in that area. And my God, I'm telling you, Bill and Frank, those guys do an incredible job. We were packed to the gills. I want to thank everybody that showed up. Of course, Lou and Diane, Hardcore Nation, Joey Spins, and Cindy from Hardcore Nation, National, of course, Hardcore Nation Italians, they were there. And it's great seeing Vince and all his crew there. Happy birthday, Andrea. Happy birthday. And Natalie, the owners and cousins. It was fantastic. Great seeing Dave and Pam up there, Danny and Robin, my daughter, even Marissa came with Nico. And, of course, the crew, Jerry Jams, Joey. We want to thank Dave Antonelli, Carlo Joseph. Thank you, Joe, for the pickup yesterday. My good buddy Russ. And it was great. And Ryan O'Ryan, of course, doing his magic, and the incredible voice of Lisa P. What a great voice and what a great show it was yesterday. Tonight we'll be at Chicago Prime Steakhouse in Schaumburg. That's an 8 o'clock hit. Tomorrow, 2 nights at Ron Onesti's Club Arcada Speakeasy. Now, tomorrow night we're at the Speakeasy with the main event band. That's Daryl Armenstad on keys. That's Danny Ramonde on saxophone. And, of course, the great Tony Toto on drums. Now, that's tomorrow's show, and that's going to be an 8 o'clock hit. Then Sunday we're back there for Sinatra Sunday. Me and Jerry Jams starting at 4 o'clock. We got a lot of good things to talk about and a lot of other things coming up. One of the main things, you know what we're talking about, folks, 30 years in the business full time. Now, there might be other guys out there that might be there longer, but I'm proud to be doing it full time, 5 nights a week, and still going strong. God bless us, because people like you and the people in the restaurant and the agents and the casinos and everything that we do, festivals and the nightclubs. And so thank you for that. So we're going to throw a big bash. Now, we did the 25th anniversary at the Arcada, but this one we're doing at the Des Plaines Theater, which is 30 years, Sunday, May 29th, and a lineup that we got. Chris Minardi, of course, part of the Chicago Hitmen with Nick Hodges and the band. Fantastic. It's going to be great. We also got the lovely Diva Montel, Kim Peterson LaFew, the soulful Regina Karma, my sister Tanya making her debut. Now, she sang before, but this will be in front of the Ocean crowd, so it'll be kind of cool. We got Mo's Dream Police, the Cheap Chip tribute, of course, that we do to Cheap Trick. We have Jack D'Amico, the original Frank Sinatra, in my Chicago Rat Pack show. We started that play at Piper's Alley. That show ran for 8 years, produced by Ron Onesti. So Jack was the original Frank Sinatra in that show. I was Dean, and of course, the great Lonnie Parler. So Jack will be there. Matt Cassane, funny man. We're doing some of his impersonations. Of course, #1 Chris Farley impersonator. He does a lot of great stuff, folks. So he's going to be doing the intermission. Then, of course, we're going to have Mike and Tracy from Good Clean Fun. Me and Mike will be doing some song. That'll be a lot of fun. Then we got, of course, Mojo's Jukebox, my new 70s, 80s power pop band. Babies, Slade, Sweet, all the great music. We're doing the after party. That's at 5 o'clock. And then we got the great John Vincent. He sings all the national anthems at the Cubs games, and of course, some great voice with the Sinatra stuff. So he'll be there joining us. And of course, all three Jersey girls will be joining us as well. Master of Ceremonies, Ron Onesti. Daryl Armenstad is going to be with us. Tony Toto, Danny Raimondi, Anthony Napolitano, even a little special preview by Anthony Carmen Melchiori. He's going to be stepping in playing bass on one of the Dream Police songs. So I'm excited. Get your tickets at oshows.com. That's Sunday, May 29th at the Des Plaines Theater. Tickets are going very well for Memorial Day weekend, which I'm shocked. And then let's talk about Ocean's Pit, folks. Before we do that, talking about the Dream Police. How about Rumble in the Jungle? That's right. Howard Cosell talks about Rumble in the Jungle in Rosemont. Bobby Hitch Production presents Rumble in Rosemont. And the Dream Police will be kicking off that show right in the field, right there in Rosemont. Saturday, June 18th, Mo's Dream Police, 6 to 7. And then I'm at the Speakeasy that night. And then you guys can sit around, watch some great boxing. And don't forget, folks, tickets at hitsboxing.com. That's Saturday, June 18th. June 19th, Mojo's Jukebox will be with Sean Cassidy. Woo! Love the bubblegum guys, man. I opened for David Cassidy. I opened for the Bay City Rollers. Did Leif Garrett. Now Sean. So this is going to be good. I'm excited about that. A lot of fun. And then, of course, I'm very excited, folks, to be nominated for the Josie Awards, which is the #1 independent music award show in the United States. It started with Josie and Tina Marie started this thing, and it's all songwriters and performers and media and photographers and fashion, and they do it at the wonderful Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, October 23rd, and I was nominated for the media for the talk show for Ocean's Pit, so I am completely honored, and I'm going to be there, going down there, me and Laura, my wife, and going to spend a couple days with Nick and Phyllis up there. Or Nick has also been nominated for Tribute Artist of the Year and Song Artist of the Year. So is Joe Dex from the Cave Dwellers, along with Ronnie B. Elvis. So a couple of Chicago guys there. So maybe we'll all come home with something. But if not, we'll have a good trip. And that's October 23rd in Nashville, Grand Ole Opry. All right. A lot of things to talk about. Of course, Taylor Street Fest is back. Ron Onesti's Taylor Street Fest, one of the best Italian festivals there are in the Midwest, folks. August 11th through the 14th, Thursday through Sunday. I'll be there on the Friday with the Jersey Boys. I'm excited about that. Bronx Wanderers. It's going to be a lot of fun. And it's good to have festivals, and we got a lot of them booked this year, so I'm happy about that. But that's definitely one of my favorites. Anything that Ron Onesti does, I'm proud to be part of that. And our next live remote, folks, we used to go to live remotes all the time. Me and my wife on a Thursday, we used to do one. We haven't been one in a while. We're going to do one coming up on June 16th at Cousins Bar and Grill in Roselle. We'll be doing our live Ocean's Pit right there, folks. First 10 people get a $10 gift card, and you can be part of the audience Thursday, June 16th at Cousins in Roselle. One more thing before we bring my buddy Chris on. Everybody, please thank you for the outpour of prayers and texts and calls and emails about my son-in-law, future son-in-law, Eric. Moriarty is home as of yesterday after suffering a heart attack at the age of 25 years old. He's home recuperating. So, Eric, if you're listening, I love you, brother. And Nina, my daughter, of course, I love her very much. So thank you for everybody that keeps calling and saying great things about Eric. And so each day, little by little, step by step, that's how that works. Ocean's Pit, little show about big things. We're going to bring up my good buddy, Chris Minardi, folks. And if you haven't heard of Chris, then you probably need to get out of the house. Chris plays almost as much as I do, if not more. He plays all the time, too. Acoustic shows, solo shows. You got 5 or 6 different bands, different projects. But we're going to talk because he's a big music fan. We had him on before. We're going to have him on again, talking about St. Jude's. We'll talk about the Stones, our 30th anniversary, 60 years with the Beach Boys. So before we bring Chris on, hello, Albert, from the Ron Onesti organization, Davey Gage. It's going to be fun. Yeah, I'm going to be there. Peter Newen is playing this Sunday at the Speakeasy. I'm at the Club Arcada. So I will definitely go see him. Jerry Jams, yeah, it was great seeing Marissa, Nico, absolutely. Roseanne, Carol, how you doing? Rogia, Davey Gage, my buddy. Doug Sylvester, a great drummer with Cover Story, and his lovely wife, Lulu, part of the St. Jude's benefit. Great guys, great group. Go see them. Luann, put it down, baby. Put your June schedule online. I will, Joanne. Thank you, Laurie. I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much, Kathy. Santa Barbara's watching. We got New Jersey watching, New York watching, Wisconsin, Ohio, and Michigan. Mary, great seeing you. Oh, Tracy. Mike and Tracy. Tracy is watching, of course, from Good Clean Fun. And they'll be part of the anniversary special with us. Glad you're doing so much better, Tracy. Love you, honey. Alan, great to see you guys all the way back from Miami. All right, Laurie Stevens, great seeing you. All right, John Anthony, my friend, great singer too as well. All right, we got a lot of good people watching, some new people. Jill, how you doing? Long time no see. Let's get the show on the road. 2 of my favorite guys today. Oh, thank you, Tracy. Tony Toto, what's up, my brother? All right, Chris Minardi, fellow musician. Fellow Italiano too. So even though it's Good Friday, not Good Friday, Friday the 13th was supposed to be bad luck. But for the Italian culture, 13 is a lucky number. And we're lucky to have this guy on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Minardi live. What's up, my brother?
Good afternoon, Mo. How are you
I can't hear you. Can't hear you.
You can't hear me? Maybe
I can see you, but I can't hear you. And I'm all the way up. So it's got to be on your end. Audio. You can at least catch an hour Sunday. He goes on at 3. Tracy might open for him with Peter. Yeah, I'm going to get there early, Albert. Go ahead, Chris. Give us a talk. See if I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Barely. Very little. Very little.
All right, let's see.
While we're trying to get Chris's audio going on. Oh, Rick Sorcy. How you doing, my good buddy from the Cave Dwellers? Rick was on Wednesday or Tuesday, whatever it was, talking about what he's going on with his 2 new movie projects and all the good stuff Rick's doing. Give us go ahead, Chris, try it again. Yeah, we can hear you, Chris, but you're very muted, very quiet when you talk. And since half of us are deaf.
Hold on.
Danny Mazzy, how you doing, buddy? Great seeing you and Robin yesterday. Thank you so much. Try it again, Chris. No, we're not getting any audio. Very, very, very quiet. Even Tracy says we can hear you. Maybe get closer to the mic. How about doing that? Try getting closer to the mic. We got Chris Minardi waiting for him to get on, folks, looking to get his audio fixed. Hopefully we'll bring him on here, folks. A lot of good stuff. Celebrating the Beach Boys' 60th anniversary. And while Chris is trying to get his audio working so we can hear him, how about my New York Yankees slapping the Chicago White Sox yesterday, folks? And you know what? In the house here at the Ocean Home here, the Bosch Fank home over here, it is Tony is a diehard Sox fan. Joey is a diehard Cub fan, and I'm a Yankee fan. So you can see all the turmoil we have during baseball season. But the Yankees are just now we can't hear you at all, Chris. Chris, do you own a string of polo ponies? Turn up the volume, butter.
I'm working on it. I don't know.
He's working on it. So once he's there, we're going to talk a little bit. We'll talk about some stuff going on. In the meantime, all right, let's get to some stories here, folks, before he goes on. According to the New York Post, a small little plane, ladies and gentlemen, traveling from Florida. The pilot got sick. Nobody knew how to fly the plane. Some guy that was on this small plane got at the cockpit, got on the plane, and successfully landed this plane with no knowledge of how to land a plane. And because the pilot was sick, still guided him. That is pretty cool and very safe that actually happened. We're waiting for Chris Minardi to speak. John Anthony, a Yankees fan as well. Jeff, how you doing? Chris, I have hammer mic for sale. A hammer mic for sale, okay. Or a hammer. There you go, hammer. We used to make guitars, didn't they? Used to love those guitars. All right, Chris is out. Maybe we'll get him back in again. Chris Minardi, we're waiting for. I'm sure he's going to come back up. He had a little audio problem, so we'll bring him up. But how about this miracle of this guy landing this plane, thank God, with no knowledge at all how to fly a plane. Isn't that cool, Jerry Jams? That is very cool. All right, we're going to try bringing Chris on again. Chris Minardi, say something, my friend. Nothing, brother. I can still hear you, but very, very quiet.
I'm talking. Can you hear me now?
You're getting better. It's getting a little louder.
All right.
But it should be a lot louder. The plane landed upside down. That's right, Rick. God bless. Still landed, though. Still landed.
Be louder, yeah.
Man, you're very quiet, man. You're very quiet. So Chris Minardi is trying to get his audio on, folks. How about this horrible story? According to People magazine, folks, there's a dad, the kid, 2-year-old, and his wife is pregnant in the car. The kid throws his toy out onto the expressway. The father pulls over, tries to rescue the toy. As he goes to rescue the toy, he gets hit and dies in a car accident. This is a guy trying to get the toy for his kid. His wife was pregnant at the time. You can't get stories like that. All right, we're trying to get Chris Minardi on one more time. Chris, can we hear you, my brother?
How about now?
You're there. We just can barely hear you, man.
Hear me?
Barely hear you. Phyllis Hodges is watching, of course, with the better half of Nick, of course, Nick and Phyllis.
Let me move over to my laptop. Let's see.
Yeah, go ahead. Go back on. Come back on again. All right. Oh, we got Nick's trying to get his audio to work. Chris is trying to get his audio to work. So he's going to get on. Daryl Armenstadt, how you doing, buddy? See you Saturday. I'll see you, Daryl, tonight because we have a private party from 5 to 7, private party. But then we'll see him. All right. So, Christine, hope you had a good birthday. BJ Murray in the house. I'm sure, BJ, you're heading to New York on Mulberry Street. You know, buddy, you're very happy about our New York Yankees slapping the Chicago White Sox 15, whatever it was, 15-7 final score. Anthony Provenzano, how you doing, my good friend? I hope you guys are well. So, Chris Minardi is going to be coming on. He just couldn't get his audio. So we're talking about that stuff. It's a sad story, though, folks. If you think about it, the father went to get the toy on the expressway because the kid threw it out while he's trying to retrieve the toy. He gets hit. It's a sad story. The wife was still pregnant at the time. What can you possibly imagine being in that situation? Our prayers go out to that family, man. The father trying to get a toy for a kid and gets hit by a car on the expressway after the kid throws the toy out. All right, so we got some stuff. Chris Minardi will be coming on soon, trying to get his audio to work. You're watching Ocean's Pit. Hey, guys, are you ready for cruises? People are going on cruises. I don't know if you guys are comfortable to still go on cruises. If you're just tuned in, we're waiting for Chris Minardi to get his audio fixed. Mary, how you doing? It's horrible. It really is. So as soon as he gets his audio, folks, we're going to get Chris on. We've got a lot to talk about. So cruises. Here's a couple things you need to know before you go on a cruise or when you're on a cruise. Now, a lot of people have been on cruises. I've been on a few myself. I'm hoping to go on another one soon. I love cruises. I worked on them, and I love performing on them. And I like going to relax. We loved our cruise. The staff was incredible. Right, Tracy? They are America. All right, couple things you should remember before you go on a cruise. First day you go. All right, Chris Minardi now is back. So let's see if we get him here. Chris, say hello.
Hello, hello.
All right, perfect. Now lower you. Now all I can see is your mouth. Ah, there he is.
Okay, man. We're going to get this, all right?
The incomparable Chris Minardi is watching. Hey, buddy, what's going on?
I'm good, man. How about, hold on. Let me just tweak this a second, all right?
All right, you tweaked that. So Chris Minardi finally got his audio working here, folks. So he's here. Yes, there he is. Call Chris, put him on speakerphone. Ray?
Another second.
No, he's good. He's going to be back on. Okay, one thing before when you get on that cruise ship, folks. One mistake that a lot of people do while we're waiting for Chris Minardi, these are tips on the cruise ship. If you've been on one or you're going one for the first time, do not get sunburned on the first day of your cruise. It will ruin your vacation. So if you know that you're going to burn, cover up. Don't drink too much and fall asleep at the pool side over there because you're done. Your week is done or your 5 days are done. That's number one, folks. Another thing, Chris, are you ready?
I think we're ready to go here, man.
I think so too.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, one more time, the incomparable Chris Minardi, everybody.
All right.
Yeah, all
Sorry,
right,
old people in technology, man.
Yeah, me too, man. I have no clue what I'm doing. Thank God for my wife and my producer, April, because I would be completely lost. Chris, listen, man, now that the pandemic's sort of over and you started playing again, do you see people coming out to gigs? What's the mentality now?
Yeah. Well, as mainly a solo performer, we were very fortunate during the whole pandemic.
Right.
I was out of work for about a month and a half from like the middle of March through Memorial Day. Then all of a sudden, all the patios and the beer gardens and everything started opening, and people were setting up tents all over the place. So I had plenty of work through the whole thing. But of course, now I think what happened during that time, music caught on more due to the absence of professional sports and the absence of video games. People were more drawn to music, and I'm actually sensing that the audiences are now stronger as a result of the whole thing.
I agree with you, man. Yeah. I mean, we were very fortunate to always have good crowds, but I see people now that are really saying hell with it. We've been locked up, done the mask thing, and you know what? I still see very, very few people with masks out there, but it's good. It's good for the music world. All right, let's start real fast. You did an incredible job. First of all, you jumped as a new guitar player for Nick Hodges' Piano Man band. You fit right in there. Was it difficult with the Billy Joel? Are you a Billy Joel Elton John fan?
I am. I wouldn't ever say that I was a hardcore fan, but definitely a fan. Billy Joel is from my hometown of Hicksville, Long Island, by the way.
See, there you go.
So you
had that in you.
And so I was always aware of him. But what I realized in this project was what a genius he really, really is. Analyzing the music, with the earphones in and getting all the guitar details down. It's just amazing music that he created, him and Elton John for that matter.
Well, what do you think, Chris, who do you think is more popular, Elton John or Billy Joel?
That's a tough call. I mean, I guess I would have to say probably equal, because I'd say Elton John like on the earlier end and then Billy Joel like on the later end. Yeah. I don't think Billy Joel was like as famous during the 80s as he was during the 70s.
Yeah.
Whereas Billy Joel, like in the 80s and early 90s, I mean, one of the things that made this music not so difficult to learn was that there was a time all of these songs played out constantly on the radio.
Yes.
You couldn't excuse me, you couldn't turn a radio on anywhere and not hear one of those songs playing. So they're all part of the soundtrack of my mind.
Yeah. You can always hear, you always heard, You May Be Right,
Right.
from Billy Joel. Right. You'll always hear, Just the Way You Are, and elevator music. But you hear it all. You hear it all the time. I was more an Elton John fan. I like some Billy Joel. I liked some stuff. But Nick and you guys are, first of all, Nick is a genius.
Yeah.
And usually when you're a genius, there's some people are like jagoffs, but not Nick, man. Nick is the sweetest guy in the world. And Phyllis, they open their homes. They treat you like family. And whatever something needs to be done or helping somebody, whatever, they're the first people to raise their hand. And that's what I told Nick. He busted his butt, you guys did, for months to get this St. Jude's thing, which was a successful. They raised, I think, 12,000, maybe more. I don't know what they raised, but they did an incredible job.
I'm still waiting to hear the number.
So. Yeah. And then Nick goes, right when I thought I was out, Ocean drags me right back in, as they say in The Godfather. Now we're working on our show. But so you like playing the music of Billy Joel. That's a lot of stuff.
I was beyond flattered when I got that text from him back in January. I knew Nick and Phyllis. I'd been to their home a number of times for the get-togethers, and we knew each other, but we didn't know each other that well. And when I got that text, I was like, wow, And so I was really flattered about that. And I said, sure, let's try this. And it's been great. Let's put it this way, Nick and Phyllis, I think, are a whole other Ocean show of its own. If we wanted to talk about two wonderful people. Yeah. He's great to work with. I love his sense of humor. He's a perfectionist. Yeah. I kind of know what he demands in a performance, and it's just, so far it's been a great ride. I'm doing my 4th gig with them tonight, actually. So
I'm like I said, Nick is just fan. We've done some solo stuff together, me and him. Yeah. He's the keyboard player, guitar player, and background vocalist for the Dream Police, my Cheap Trick band. So, and he's just great at what he does. But all right, Chris, let's talk about, let's dabble a little bit with the Rolling Stones.
All right.
Now, you were in a Stones tribute band for many years. Do you know today, well, not today, as of yesterday, May 12th, 1972, 50 years, Exhale on Main Street.
Yeah, I don't know if that's debatable, because I thought it was actually the 13th, but then I was reading this morning that it said May 26th. But the confusion could be that because it might have been released in Europe on a different date, it might have been released here on another date. That's not important. What's important is that album has endured for 50 years.
Yeah. Do you think that was the greatest record from the 70s?
I would say without a doubt the greatest album from the 70s. Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah.
They went from rock to country. It's amazing. Sweet Virginia. Some of these songs are just great stuff that they did. Why do you think, Chris, after how old they are and they're still going, why do you think the people are just embracing the Rolling Stones?
Not to sound like a simp, but they're good. Yeah. They're a good band. Yeah. And they, again, you want to talk about perfectionists. I've seen some bad shows, back in the day when there was a little too much drink and a little too much drug. And, I don't know about you, but I've been guilty of it myself in my infamous past.
Right there, buddy. I've been there with you.
And you look at those YouTube clips and you're like, oh my God, I hope nobody ever sees this. Yeah. But, they're professionals, and they're really, really good songwriters, and they're good showmen. And, there's a chemistry that works, just along the same lines as the Beatles. You couldn't have had that band without the right players and the right writers doing it.
And I would think with the attitudes between Mick and Keith, that band should have broke up years ago.
Yeah, well, it's like, Keith always says, I can't divorce him and he can't divorce me,
Yeah, so. That's right. But what the Stones did, they did it smart. Mick went out and did his 2 solo albums, which one of them they bombed. So Keith didn't want to do a solo album, and he doesn't. His 2 solo records outsell anything Mick Jagger ever did solo.
Yeah, he came out and blew him away, actually.
Yeah, blew him away. And you know what? Bill Wyman was making records. Charlie Watts was making records. Ronnie Wood made tons of solo records before he joined the Stones. So they still got to go out and do their thing. Just imagine if the Beatles would have done that. Hey, let's take a year off. Paul's going to do this. John's going to do that. Would have been. They might have still been together.
Well, you know that. I mean, when you look at the Beatles now over like, let's say a 40-year stretch since Lennon died, you know, there's always the debate over, well, would they have gotten back together again?
Yes.
You know, and I mean, there's a possibility. You know, when you think in terms of them breaking up in 1970, and then boom, 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 solo albums like crazy for the next 5 or 6 years. Lennon goes into his Lost Weekend or whatever and drops out of the picture. Maybe they would have gotten back together again in the early 80s.
You know what? I think so too. I mean, that Lost Weekend with Harry Nilsson, Mickey Dolenz, May Pang, who was his girl after Yoko left. But let's remember, Anthology hits back when late 80s, early 90s, whenever Anthology was made.
Oh, that was 95 when it came out.
95. Now, Jeff Lynne, the 3 remaining Beatles, of course, George, Paul, and Ringo. They redid 2 John Lennon songs that they found, Free as a Bird and Real Love. If John was still alive, that would have been, I think, a full-fledged reunion.
Yeah. McCartney has stated in interviews that, you know, that John would have definitely wanted to have been part of it by then. You know, and I think, and you know, there's a lot I think that we don't know. You read between the lines sometimes with these people. You know, they stuck together, they kept in touch. They just kind of got tired of the limelight and all of the popularity and not being able to go anywhere without people, you know, hounding them, you know, about when the band was going to get back together again.
Yeah,
you know?
And of course, I do believe that if Brian Epstein might have not died, they might have hung out a couple more years.
They might,
Yeah.
But again, it's all, you know, who knows? You know,
who knows? Exactly.
Anybody's guess.
Let's go to, we were talking about the Stones.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, I mean, they had the decades of the Stones. You had them with Brian Jones, the founder.
Yeah.
Played all those great musical instruments.
Yeah, he was a real musician.
Yeah, great musician.
Not taking away from anything that any of the rest of them did because they were so innovative in that. Yes. But he was the one that like had a background in music theory and knew how to play a lot of different instruments and really gave a lot of flavor to some of those early tunes. Ruby Tuesday, you know, that being one great example with the flute. And then, you know, other songs that he used the sitar on, Painted Black.
Yeah, sure.
So,
yeah, he did a lot of great stuff. And then, of course, Brian dies, gets kicked out of the band, drowns, even though he was an incredible swimmer. You heard the rumor that supposedly maybe it was done on purpose. You hear about that. We don't know we're never going to know the truth. And then they bring in Mick Taylor. Wasn't he with Alvin? Who was Mick Taylor with before? Wasn't he with Alvin Lee? Who was he with?
No, he did. He toured with Alvin Lee, I think, like in the early 90s. They played together, but he actually came out of John Mayall's Blues Breakers.
John Blues, okay.
Which is where Clapton came from, and Peter Green, the original guitar player with Fleetwood Mac.
Fleetwood Mac, yeah. And they made some great records. Goat's Head Soup, It's Only Rock and Roll. Those 2 records were fantastic. And then, I don't know, Mick Taylor looked like he was kind of lost in that band.
Well, he was kind of an outcast. He didn't fit the mold of the rest of them. I don't know, I hate to say poser, but like he didn't pose well as a Rolling Stone. You know, like I don't think Jagger really could go up to him with a microphone while they were singing and like they could be in each other's face the way him and Ron Wood would do it.
Yeah. And then, I agree with you. I mean, incredible guitar player.
That era, that 5 years is my favorite period of the Stones, going from from Let It Bleed through It's Only Rock and Roll. I mean, those Goat's Head Soup, ironically, is probably not one of my favorite Stones albums. Even, you know, it is popular and all that, but it wasn't. I think it was it was almost like a little bit of a hangover from the Exile album. Like, you're not going to top this.
Yeah, right. You can't top that. And then, you know what, Mick goes and they bring in the little brother of Keith Richards, the great Ron Wood, of course,
Right.
many years with Faces and Rod Stewart. Yep. And then he fits like Keith's little brother. They came out with the Black and Blue album.
Well, he's only on one track on that record.
That's right. But he made the cover of it. He made the cover of it.
He made the cover, yeah.
And I thought it was a great record, Fool to Cry. They had some Memory Motel. They had some great songs on that record. And it seems like Keith Richards always said that if it wasn't for Charlie, the band would have been broke up years ago if Charlie left.
Yeah. Well, they had the engine room of the band. If there were ever two musicians in a band that actually played off of each other, it was the two of them. And you really got to see that in the concerts when you saw them perform live, how it worked. Like Keith spent a really good portion of the show just working with Charlie, in the engine room there.
Right. He was like the musical director with Charlie. And then, of course, Bill Wyman was with him I guess he only got the job, according to a book called Up and Down with the Rolling Stones book that I read. Yeah. He only got the job because he had the biggest PA or biggest bass or something. And Ian Stewart, the fifth Stone, the piano player, whatever, he was made a member because he had the van, if I hear that right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, Wyman's family were they were the financiers for the equipment and the gear, and I guess a place to rehearse and all that. So, but he's a great bass player. I mean, if you talk to Mike Bruccoleri, and when you talk about great bass players, like he'll mention Wyman.
Yeah, and Wyman was great, and he fit perfect with Charlie. And here he is at the height of their career. Meg Dollars, I'm out of here. And it looks like he never had any regrets turning back.
No.
Daryl Jones, of course, Chicago guy, great guy, became the bass player. They changed after that, I think. It wasn't the same Stones when Daryl joined the band. Then it looks like it became more like a Mick solo band.
Yeah. The records were a little more uneven. Being a hardcore fan, I'm not an analyst and I'm not a historian. If I could sit here, we could talk facts all day and I would probably get half of it wrong. But being a hardcore fan, I would say that at that point on, the records became a little uneven. Some of them were still really good. I thought Voodoo Lounge was a really good, solid album, but I don't think it needed to be two records. I think they could have made one record out of it. And
I agree with you. And then you played Keith in a Rolling Stones tribute band.
I did.
Well, let me ask you something, man. When you talk about Keith Richards, to me, he was I call him one of my heroes because here's a guy that's been through everything and still going strong and dabbled in everything. And everybody always seemed to love Keith. It was like everybody loved Keith. Mick might have been a prick, but Keith was the guy. When Keith made a phone call, everybody's going to go play with Keith. Look at the winos he put together in that band. He had one of the best bands ever to put together. Band. Yeah. Why people are so crazy about Keith Richards, you think?
Well, he's cool. He's just a cool person. And I think that a lot of us growing up in our generation, I think I'm a couple of years older than you, but like growing up in our generation, I think one of the problems that we had was that we tried to be him. And we didn't try to be him so much as a musician. We tried to just be him as a person. We thought things like overindulgence and just acting like that was going to make us him. And really, when you think about it, it looks ridiculous. You can't be. And I love one of his quotes that he said that if you are trying to be cool, you're not cool.
You're not cool. We hear the story that nothing can kill Keith Richards. He everything's happening. He's still alive. Right. Then you hear the crazy story that, of course, when his father died, he took some of his dad's ashes and sprinkled it in some cocaine. And, and knowing Keith, not knowing Keith, but knowing the stories of Keith, I wouldn't put it past him. You know what I mean?
He didn't deny that. If I read that correctly, he didn't deny that. And so what? It's
So what? I agree. If anybody's going to do it, it's going to be Keith. And Johnny Depp took his character of the pirate from Keith. That's why Keith, didn't he play his uncle or his father in one of the movies?
He did. And
Yeah.
I think it was the third one.
Yeah.
And I never saw the whole movie. I actually only saw the first one, Pirates of the Caribbean, and it was really good. And I really should see the rest of them because I was very drawn to that character, you know.
Yeah. Me too.
But I heard that third movie, other than that moment where Keith came out and played his grandfather,
Yeah.
the rest of the movie was like unwatchable.
Yeah, that's what you hear too. And that's what happens when you make 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Right.
I mean, leave it to 2 and 3 and done.
Yeah.
You're watching Ocean's Pit, the little show about big things with my good buddy Chris Minardi, Chicagoland's. You're just a chameleon, Chris. If it's not this band, it's this band and that band, and you know what? And you keep yourself busy, and we love it. One of the other reasons why we got you on the show too, not only that, but someone said today, 60 years. That the Woodstock album came out back in 1970. I guess they had an interview with Richie Valens, who was on the whatchamacallit. I don't know. Is it 60 years?
You mean Richie Havens?
That's it, Richie Havens. I'm sorry.
No, that hasn't been that. We're talking Woodstock. Woodstock was 69, so that would be.
So the album came out. Yeah, so there you go. Some people got different years here.
Yeah.
But that was a whole different. One of the first big concerts, right? Now, was Woodstock before Altamont or after?
No, it was before.
It was before.
Yeah, and what happened was, and again, like in that book, Up and Down with the Rolling Stones, that's like the best Stones book ever. But it also captures that time period really well.
Yeah.
That book was so full of like musical education, and I don't want to get off what we were talking about, but that book is really that taught me about where all their influences came from. I didn't know that they got influence from like old black cotton picker bluesmen, you know, in the 30s.
And taking those songs. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And now we talk the Beatles, we talk the Stones, and now we're talking about another band at the 60th anniversary of the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
Al, Carl, Dennis, Brian, and Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Love. I mean, wow. You know, they only had 4 number-1 hit singles. I Get Around in 1964.
Yeah.
Help Me Rhonda in 65.
Mm-hmm.
Good Vibrations in 66. And Kokomo in 1988. Turmoil from California, obviously, the Beach Boys. But it looks like there was a lot of turmoil.
Yeah.
Was the Wilson was the father of them? They're pretty strict on them. I've seen a movie, a TV movie that Steve Dahl produced. Did you see that? It was.
I've seen them all.
Yeah. So what the bringing up was the parents pretty tough on him, the dad, right?
Yeah. Well, the dad was a tyrant.
Yeah.
And I mean, just from again reading the books, seeing the documentaries, and then even when you listen to the old Beach Boy outtakes that were released subsequently on the albums, you know, they would release outtakes and there would be banter in the background. And you would listen to Murray and you could just hear in his voice the anger, the angst that he had and the want for control of everything because he was the one who managed the band up until they fired him.
Right. He was the manager. Right? They had to fire him, right?
They couldn't work with him anymore. He was impossible.
Yeah.
And, what that came down to is a lot of it was that he was jealous of his son. You know, he in his own right was a music talent. There's an album called The Many Moods of Murray Wilson. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
No, I didn't know that.
Me and maybe 2 other people are the only ones who own it.
There you go.
and
so right. I mean, was he like Michael Jackson's dad with the Jackson?
Yeah, along the same lines.
Yeah.
But I don't think that Michael Jackson's dad. I don't know a whole lot of. I haven't remember a whole lot about him, but I don't think that he was a musician. He's driven to make them successful and make them number one and keep them there. Whereas Murray was very much in competition with Brian. And Brian, unfortunately, he just had such mental illness, and became complicated with drugs.
Well, did you think of his upbringing as what made his mental like that?
Yeah, well, there's also speculation that his father beat him upside the head one time with a 2x4. And another thing that people don't know about Brian Wilson is that he's deaf in his left ear. So
there you go.
For all this music that he created, you know, it was one-dimensional sound. You know, now and the reason I mention that is because if you listen to Pet Sounds, which is arguably one of the greatest albums ever made.
I agree.
The original recording of that is just, they recorded it so well. So many instruments, so much production went into it. And then when they got down to mastering it and putting it out, it's terrible. You listen to how, you know, they're mastering it and they're EQing it as they're putting it on record. And we didn't notice it at the time, but when they came out with a remastered version of it, everything came to life. Every bass note, every guitar note, every triangle, you know, all the horn stabs, everything in there, it came to life. It's almost like watching a Disney production or, you know, hearing a Disney production. It was just an amazing record. I don't know where I was going with that, by the way, Mo. I lost my train of thought.
No, that's okay. We're talking about, you know what, Chris, what you made it seemed like from the stuff I read about the Beach Boys. I mean, here's the Beatles coming out with Rubber Soul. Well, what are we going to do? What are we going to do now? He was so under pressure probably to try to make a record. And when he had an idea, when he was locked up in the studio making this Good Vibration, they thought he was a whack job.
Right.
What the hell is he doing? And now this comes out. It's just a masterpiece of what he did, and trying to compare it to Paul McCartney and John Lennon as writers. Wilson is right up there with John and Paul, Lennon, McCartney, Richard Jagger. I mean, he's right up there. I mean, some of the greatest songs ever in pop music are the Beach Boys.
He was a great arranger, and he was a great producer. Yeah. And it was like Mike Love used to call him dog ears, because he would drive them nuts in the studio. You know, like, you know, they would, you listen to something, like I said, these outtakes, you know, I think there's like some 25 or 30 takes of Good Vibrations.
Yeah.
And you listen to the way that whole thing came together. I mean, there's just so many takes of it. And then finally they got down to where they had to make it radio friendly.
Right.
So it took like all these hours of recordings and bits and pieces, and they finally snipped it together and made, I forget how long it is, 5 minutes or 6 minutes or something like that.
It's definitely, it was one of the longest. It was at that time, right? Was Hey Jude.
Yeah. Well, Hey Jude came later. I can tell you there was Good Vibrations, and then I think the next longest song would have been MacArthur's Park.
Right.
You remember that one? Richard Harris, I think it was.
Richard Harris, the British actor, singing it. Yes, yes.
Now I'm showing my age, right, Mo?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I loved Richard Harris. Yeah. But then you got MacArthur's Park, and then you had whatever, Hey Jude. I think then Stairway to Heaven came in at 7 something, right? Yeah. So, and why do you think they broke up? The turmoil, was it between Mike Love and Brian Wilson that they kind of fought all the time?
Well, they never broke up.
Right.
I mean, there was always some version of them, you know, some incarnation of that band, as there is now, you know. Yes. I mean, but what happened was Brian the story was he came off the road in 1964, and because he had a nervous breakdown.
Sure.
On the airplane. So I forget now, that was when they brought in Glenn Campbell. I could be wrong about this, but Glenn Campbell spent 6 months with them, and then came Bruce Johnson.
Right, and then right. Wasn't there rumors too that Daryl Dragon played piano and keyboard?
He might have. I mean, if we went back and looked at the credits, I'm sure Daryl Dragon is on. On some of those records. Him and Dennis were buddies.
There you go. Oh. And John Stamos was not in the Beach Boys. So let's just make sure that we let people know. Did you see him playing the bongos? No, sorry, he was not.
He started touring with them, I think, in the late 80s.
Yeah.
Because I used to go to a lot of those shows back in the 80s and the 90s, and they were really good. But I forget who said it. One of them, it wasn't Mike Love, but it was one of them who said that they needed a sex symbol for the band ever since Dennis died, because he was the only good-looking one in the band.
He was the only good one in the band. They brought him in. Yeah. I remember them 4th of July concert. I don't know what year, but didn't Ringo play with the Beach Boys?
That was 1983, Washington. Yeah.
How cool is that?
Very cool. Yeah.
I mean, come on now. You got Ringo playing with the Beach
Yeah.
Boys, and that's unbelievable. About the rumor, is it true? Dennis Wilson hanging with Charlie Manson.
Yeah. Well, the house that and again, don't quote me verbatim on a lot of this stuff, but Dennis was renting a house. I want to say Laurel Canyon, and he was renting it from Terry Melcher.
All right.
Who was also a songwriter, lyricist, who is Doris Day's son.
Okay.
Okay. And they used to, it was one of these places where everybody just showed up all the time. It was like open house, man. Anybody could come and go. And Manson started frequenting the place. And him and Dennis actually wrote songs together.
That's right. That's true. He wrote some, right.
Yeah. And if you listen to, I've actually taken a few moments and listened to some of the Manson stuff because I was curious. And the guy could actually write a song. But then you listen to some of the other stuff and it's just pure garbage. Just nasty, you could tell, this guy's a bit of a nut job. But he probably had like moments of stability where he could actually focus and string a couple of lyrics together.
Or you know what they say, the line of genius and psycho right there too. So you never know. I mean, 60 years of them being together and still, I mean, it's just amazing. I have two of my favorites. God Only Knows. Yeah. Of course. In My Room are my two favorite. I mean, but they had so many great songs. What is the story between finally, many years later, Brian Wilson finally released Smile? What's the whole story with that?
Oh, I love that. That's a great question, Mo.
Yes.
Well, a little bit of the backstory about Smile was that was what was supposed to come after Pet Sounds. Okay. Because there was, let's just say there was Pet Sounds, Sgt. Pepper.
Yeah.
Now the Beach Boys, Brian technically has to outdo or come up with something more advanced than Sgt. Pepper, which if you look around the music spectrum at the time, there weren't really too many people that were able to do that. In fact, there was nobody. Absolutely. But the one who came close was Brian with this whole Smile thing. But what happened was it became just hours and hours and hours of convoluted snippets of pieces of music that never really amounted to anything other than just that. And over the years, subsequent years, like in the late 80s, it started to come out. Nobody knew about this stuff back then, And then I started to become really curious about it. So I found, bootlegs of it in different places. And back then you didn't have the internet and YouTube and everything else. So you actually had to go find them. And I remember I bought this 3-record vinyl set of Smile sessions. And I listened to it and I was like, wow, this stuff is off the rails. I mean, this was more psychedelic than anything Pink Floyd put out at the time. The lyrics were just completely, I don't want to say indecipherable, but it made no sense, but yet you could tell it was coming from somewhere, and it was
coming from somewhere. Well, then he released it later, right? I mean,
Well, what he did is that now it became the stuff of legend, and it became popular, and people, latter day songwriters were using it and becoming influenced by it. So they did a version of it with his band, and that's a whole debatable thing, whether you could say Brian Wilson finally released Smile. There was a lot of help in that from his studio musicians, a few of them of which are from Chicago. And what they did is they revisited the music, charted it, and made full-length songs out of it, and then went into the studio and recorded. And I think basically, Brian sang it.
Okay, so when you went back and re-recorded the stuff, you're watching Ocean's Pit with Chris Minardi, everybody. Laurie, absolutely, Laurie Crowley. As you said, the Beach Boys concert in Elk Grove in my hometown last summer was phenomenal. And not only was it phenomenal, Laurie, but it was the biggest concert that Elk Grove ever had, turnout-wise. In that concert for Elk Grove was the Beach Boys.
Yeah, I missed it. I was in New York.
Yeah. Chris, let me tell you now, you've been around, you got a lot of great projects. Here, Rolling Stone magazine took a toll of the best music. People asked 50s, the music of the 50s, according to Rolling Stone's poll, 6% of people said 6% people said they liked this music of the 50s. 32% music of the 60s. 33% music of the 70s, and 23% the music of the 80s. Now, as a musician, not only do you play, you like, sing, what's your favorite? 50s, 60s, 70s, or 80s?
Oh, I would have to go 60s, of course, and that doesn't mean there wasn't good music from the other eras, but I mean, my favorite era is the 60s. I think that without that foundation of most of what we've just been talking about for the last half hour, there might not have been what came later.
You're absolutely right. And we know if it wasn't for the 50s or even the blues and stuff, there wouldn't have been the Stones, there wouldn't have been the Beatles, there wouldn't have been any of those bands. So it's just amazing how music is. But I try to ask this all the time. Chris, what is with this music of today? I don't understand it. I mean, there's not much out there. You mentioned a few yesterday when a couple of groups did you. But what happened to the those geniuses that were there in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s? They just all went away? I mean, what's going on?
Well, they're being sampled on some of the contemporary records and all that. I don't know what to say about that because, I just think it's a matter of what's publicized.
Sure.
Whether it's on, a TV show like American Idol or something like that, or whatever radio. I don't listen to any commercial radio.
Me either.
At all. Okay. 90% of the time I've got the Grateful Dead channel on XM radio. That's what I listen to. Or I go to XMU, which is kind of like Sirius Radio's version of college radio.
I got it.
And that's where you'll find the good music. And it's not all good, but it was never all good. I mean, I didn't like it. I remember in the 70s, we would say, oh, the music sucks in the 70s, and it's not nearly as good as it was in the 60s. Now I find myself going back and realizing, wow, I never listened to that whole album before. I never found that buried track in there. Wow, this is really good. Yeah. So the thing is that it doesn't, at one time, the music came to us. Okay. There's a new Stones album coming out, a new Moody Blues album coming out. We anticipated it. It came to us. Nowadays, I don't know, for whatever reason, it doesn't come to us. We have to go find it. And it's out there.
I mean, tell you something, though. I'm just like you. I remember going to the bins, all these different record shops, going up and down and finding these great records that you don't know. Or when Rolling Stone magazine or Illinois Entertainment, whatever, you would know that this new album was coming out, and you'd be so excited because you hear about it. And you find some great gems of I miss going to the record stores and going up and down all the aisles and going through it. I mean, and looking at the credits. When you bought that album, it was you love the credits and the liner notes. All that stuff was almost just as important as the actual record itself. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It was almost like you got the record, you got the listening experience, but you also got like something to read with it. Yeah. Which incidentally, there's a great vinyl record store right on our corner over here in Roselle, right behind the mobile station. I don't know. If you
wait a minute, the one next to my dentist, is that still there?
It's I drove past it this morning. It was still there.
It's right next to the mobile. I live right down the street from there. My dentist is in that strip mall. Okay. And and then what's the one in Oak Park? Remember they used to have like Val's Holla and Oak Park, and then up secondhand tunes.
Yeah, secondhand tunes I remember really well.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be some great stuff, and it's just
you can smell it. Just like thinking about it.
Crazy. Ocean's Pit, a little show about big things. We're running out of time, but Chris, what are the projects that you had that you were in? If you can only have one, if this was the one, which one would it be?
Well, I would have to go with the solo thing, the one-man jam solo gig. Just because that basically enables me to float on my own.
And do you pick the songs? How do you do that? Do you pick songs
I
that you
don't
like,
use
or
a
do you
set
pick
list.
songs that the people want to hear?
Nah, I just, I'll walk into the room and I'll look around and I'll assess like what I think my audience is. If looks like a lot of people our age, let's face it, that's my target audience. I know what to play. But I don't work from any kind of a set list or anything like that. When I do that, I just go in and just play what I feel and, kind of feel it out, see what kind of reaction I get and go from there.
And go from there. Is there a song, Chris, that you do on your solo show that you absolutely have to play every night, but you really don't want to?
To answer your question, no. I don't get in. I'm not like it, because it's not really like being in a band,
right?
Where like there's just certain sort of requirements. I'm not really faced with that where like, well, I'm going to have to do Brown Eyed Girl tonight, or I'm going to have to do Mustang Sally or whatever. So no, that's another one of the beauties about this thing is that most of the time I just get to float through whatever I want, and then occasionally it's always funny because the grandparents will send the little 7-year-old granddaughter up to say, ask him to play something by Journey. Or ask him if he'll do Brown Eyed Girl or Sweet Caroline or something like that.
Yeah. I get that. I get the Brown Eyed Girl. I get the Sweet Caroline, which I don't even sing. I'll bring somebody up because I can't stand the song, and they'll sing it. And that's Amore by Dean Martin. Oh,
yeah.
God.
I mean, to be clear, there's nothing I won't play. Like there's one thing, I've learned so much in this business, especially in the last 7 years since I've been doing it full time. I've learned more about what not to do than actually what to do.
Yeah.
And, when I'm playing, it's not really about me. Unless it's only about me is if nobody's paying attention. If I have an empty room or I'm just not getting any response or whatever.
Right.
But, I'm performing for the audience. So I'm not, it's not a whole lot of pain for me to play a song that I might not like.
Sure.
I mean, there's songs I'd rather not, but I'm not going to be like, oh God, I'm not, it's not like that.
Chris Minardi, if they want to book you, how do they find you?
They can find me at www.chrisomj.com. So chrisomj.com.
There you go. And where are you this weekend?
This weekend, tonight. At Primo in Gurnee, Illinois, Chicago's own Piano Man Band.
It's good. I like that place up there in Gurnee. I played there a few times. Not at the parlor. I played there before they had the parlor.
Okay.
So a great place in Gurnee over there. And, of course, you're in good company with a great band, of course. You got Natalie, who just celebrated a birthday. You got Jack on the drums. You've got, of course, the great the professor and, of course, St. Nicholas.
Yeah.
It's just great, man. You guys are great. I'm glad that you guys are happy together and joining, put yourself together. Chris, I'm excited about the 30th.
Me too, man. I'm again, flattered beyond words, man. I was like, wow, I'm going to get to play with Tony Ocean. And
fun because I know, I go, Nick, I want to get a different approach. Instead of seeing my guys all the time, I want to get a different approach. I go, Nick, put it together, and you just put the right people together, and I think it's just fantastic for what it is. Chris, thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a great entertainer and keeping the music of what you do. And I'm looking forward to Tuesday's night rehearsal. So
you betcha. It's going to be great, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chris, make sure you check them out. You got it, buddy. Have a great afternoon. Have a great weekend, folks. And it's coming to the end for us. Everybody, let's go. Don't forget, look at the website, TonyOceanMusic.com, and to book a show, 847-769-8609. Tonight, we'll be at Chicago Prime Steakhouse with Ryan O'Ryan, 8 o'clock. Tomorrow, Club Arcada Speakeasy with the main event band, Daryl Armenstad, Tony Toto, Danny Raimondi, yours truly, Ryan O'Ryan, 8 o'clock. Sunday, Sinatra Sunday, 2 nights at the Speakeasy, folks, with Jerry Jams. That's a 4 o'clock hit. Next Wednesday, we'll be at Manny's in Elmhurst on Wednesday. And next Saturday will be a brand new place called Champions Restaurant in beautiful Plainfield, Illinois. All right, folks. So go out and support live entertainment and local establishments. And in the great words of Ringo Starr, peace and love, peace and love. Thank you all. May 29th, Sunday, Des Plaines Theater, 30th anniversary. Get your tickets at oshows.com. God bless you, everybody. Be safe. Thank you, Chris. Have a good one.
Best to Laura, and my condolences, and best to Keith in his recovery. All right.
God bless you, brother. Love you. And take care, guys. Good night.